Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this very exciting segment today. Today we'll be looking at Queensland Multicultural Council and the annual general meeting which was held last night, and it was a great event and we'd like to congratulate the incoming committee and of course our returning officer Lisa Ward from the Ethnic Communities Council of Queensland, and it was wonderful. So in the end the result was that the new positions that have been filled. The new positions that have been filled are as follows. The president is Mokhtiar Singh and the vice president is Gail K. OYM. Secretary is Sasa Marine. Assistant secretary would be Irene Baldon. Treasurer Pradeep Kaurisya. Assistant Treasurer Naida Hernandez, Committee Member Usha Chandra, and the second committee member is Janet Dean OYM, who was the outgoing president. So it was good to see that the meeting went very well organized and it was very well run. The returning officer was Lisa Ward from the Ethnic Communities Council of Queensland, and she ran the elections very nicely according to the rules, in accordance with the rules and regulations, and she did the swearing in ceremony and installed all the new committee members for the roles. All right, now let's take a look at her speech, and I think that was a very, very good speech that she gave last night at the meeting, and everyone really appreciated that. So let's join her there. Elaborate on how our aims and objectives align with what we got to do out there in the community. And when we set up QMC, it was very clear that we will not be greedy, it's not another body like ECCQ. Our agency is like a different, more concerned about it. The bigger projects are always taken with ECCQ. Even if ECCQ is mentioned in our constitution, we will work together and support and further the objectives of it. So over to Lisa. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I'm going to wing this. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak. I will talk about ECCQ and what our priorities have been, where we have been. So I've just, I think in late October, I celebrated my second anniversary as the CEO of Ethnic Communities Council. And for those of you aren't aware, I actually worked for Gail at Access for a number of years. Prior to that, many of you know me from when I was in Department of Immigration and Citizenship at a national level and at a state level. So I've been working really in the policy, service delivery and now advocacy for multicultural communities for over 20 years. I've become incredibly passionate about it, and that is one of the reasons why I moved to ECCQ. ECCQ has really grown over the last 2 years, primarily because of Belasco, our residential aged care being redeveloped and opening. It's a 115-bed aged care facility for our multicultural communities, and it is beautiful. For those who haven't been there, please come and see us. We are now at capacity, like our legal capacity limit is 108, which we're trying to apply for that to be expanded to 115. We've got 105 individuals within our aged care facility now of multiple faiths and multiple cultures. So we're really happy. It's been a huge few years getting it built and redeveloped, and then opening and activating it over the last 12 months has been causing a lot of grey hairs. But we're there and I'm incredibly proud of it. We've also got Diversicare, which does a lot of our in-home community aged care service, and I know we have a strong focus in the Anala Darra area. We've got an awful lot of clients in that space, South Brisbane, Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, and North Brisbane. We have approximately 1,200 clients in that space at the moment. We're going through a lot of strengthening of our processes and procedures and ensuring we are giving really good client service in that space. Still got a ways to go. It's one of those where we've got so much policy and legislation changes in that space. It's keeping us all very, very busy, but we'll learn a lot. But where my passion lies is more in the multicultural space, in that space rather than the aged care service delivery. We are doing an awful lot with our communities. We've got bilingual staff that go into the community and educate people on health needs and chronic health conditions, trying to prevent and support them, connect them into doctors and nurses. They go into community, understand the barriers that they may face, stigmas. We've got bilingual, as I mentioned, workers who go in and speak within the language and in the culture that they are comfortable with. So we look after, as I mentioned, chronic health. We do a lot in swimming lessons, safety on that side, but we also do in sexually transmitted diseases, HIV, hepatitis, and STIs, of which there's huge stigma around, and we've been doing that for 20 years now. And we are recognised as Australia's lead in working with communities in that space, where we are really doing a lot with researchers to try and understand, because that's primarily like HIV, for example. Most Australians aren't contracting HIV now here in Australia. Most are coming in from overseas, so a lot of it's around education, so we do an awful lot in the education side. Within the peak body, we have been, in the last year, other than the capacity building on leaders, we did an awful lot of consultation with our communities to understand what the big issues were. We've partnered with Griffith University to put some really behind, so it wasn't Lisa had a discussion and heard this. It was a bit more, I was hearing themes coming through in my discussions, and the key issues that were brought up were, it won't be a surprise to anybody, mental health, domestic and family violence, youth disengagement, intergenerational conflict. And when I get here, I don't understand Australia's laws or systems, and it's usually too late when I understand this, like child safety came and took my child away because I was okay to do this at home, but I'm not okay to, like whether it's smacking your children, leaving them unattended, etc., or even in the domestic violence side. So we worked with our members to understand, and so after we went to Griffith, went back to our members and said, this is what we heard as part of this, do you agree with it? It was considered that it was what was affecting communities the most, and we said, is there anything else we should add? And there was a resounding, those are the 5 big issues, but what intertwines all of them is racism and discrimination, and amplifies the issues, and that, so it can't be left off the table. So we've been working with leaders, and we've taken a selection of leaders from established communities, new and emerging communities, men, women and young people, and regional, rural and urban, and to really understand the problem, mental health was voted as resounding as the biggest issue that they wanted us to advocate and support. So, and particularly on how do leaders support their communities who might be suffering mental health when there's stigma involved, and we can't have those discussions because it's seen as if you've got a mental health issue, you're insane, rather than you might be having, or you're having a bad day and just suck it up and get over it, sort of in that. So it seems to be from one extreme to the other rather than it being a trajectory. So we're working with Griffith Uni and ourselves to try and identify what the needs are, connect people to what's already there, and look at how we develop some training for leaders so they can be able to have some of those difficult conversations. So we're hoping that that will be finished and released, and people will be able to go through some training and support with what's already going on by by the end of June this year, so we're very progressed on that. Because it's an election year at the state government level, we've also been really picking up on our advocacy pieces and what it is that we want to be working on. One of the big issues we hear is, and it's in the racism, it's the teachers or school staff not being able to appropriately handle racism and discrimination in the schools. So we actually work with Dr. John Bosco to assist us to do a literature review, and because our conversation with the Queensland government was, don't use the word racism, that's not a nice or pleasant word term to use. Our argument was racism is what it is, and you need to call it, and no, it is not a very nice thing to be going through either. And the Queensland Education doesn't have any support or policy on this within. They put it all under the bullying policy, so we've been advocating that they need to be acknowledging that racism does exist and discrimination is existing in the school, in classrooms and in the school playgrounds, and that the school needs to be able to support the staff to actually manage those situations. There's an awful lot of work going on in, to stop racism, and we fully support that. But one thing that we really find is some of the teachers or just don't know how to handle it, so they either walk away and let it happen, or they're almost taking that other side, and it's being amplified. And we've had many schools, parents ring us and just say, like, this is what's happening. We've actually had to leave the school, we've had to sell a house, we've had to buy another house in another suburb so we can go to another local school, because they've just been, the person who was being racially vilified because he called it out as a 7-year-old in school, the school just amplified it. So we're doing it with John Bosco. We've got that research report, and the Stanley Foundation helped us to be able to pay John to do that research. So we are also working with Department of Education. The new Assistant Minister for Education is coming to meet with us in the coming weeks, and a few of the other stakeholders, and the new Minister, Therese Mullen, who will also be there. We'll be able to talk about it and show the evidence and see what we can do to support that. The other thing we're doing, because we've just submitted budget submissions, advocacy for the sector and how we can support the sector, but also how we can support our multicultural communities better from a budget lens, and making sure that broader departments are considering the needs of our multicultural communities. They're often forgotten, but being an election year, we have already started our advocacy for with the opposition leader, David Crispulley. We've met with him and John Langbrook as the Minister for Multicultural Affairs and Responsibilities. We've got a meeting with the Greens next week, and we of course continue to meet with the current government and to advocate on those bases. So we've got policy papers on them. It's the first time we've actually developed policy papers, and we're really trying to lift that part of what we're doing, and we're very happy to share those with QMC, because we would actually like to be able to amplify the voice, and the people that are speaking and saying the same thing is really important. On that, Anna in my team, she does a lot of work on responding to government submissions, like if they've got any legislation or policy or something, a review that's going on, we are always calling to do papers, and Anna holds working groups, and some of them are on teams, so people can be involved. We usually do a few different times of the day, daytime and evenings, to understand what the issues are. Get case studies are really important in those, so we can get that aha moment. And if any of you would like to be part of those, we're always calling up for people to participate in submissions, and I know, Janice, you've been active in that space as well, so thank you for your contributions. But it's really important. We're happy to share whatever we do. As I say, say, because it saves other people writing submissions that you can submit. The more people that are submitting submissions to government and helping them understand what the needs are, the better. And how's that for winning a conversation?
Excellent, yeah.
Down to taking questions.
Yes. I think.
What about women's ethnic network?
Oh, sorry, thank you. I didn't have my list, so our Women's Ethnic Network we really bolstered, and I think it was in the first few weeks of me starting, I had a visit by 3 lovely women who came, and Irene was one of those women to say, we really need ECCQ to get the Women's Ethnic Network back up and going, and I'm really proud of where our Women's Ethnic Network is at the moment. So we've got now over 100 women from different multicultural backgrounds, and a lot of them are within their own community. They might be representing another network of women, and they come together on teams on a bi-monthly basis and talk about issues. And they've identified women's safety as the biggest issue that they're wanting to tackle. That they didn't say domestic and family violence, that's in there, but it's women's safety, because in the workplace it's a major issue that women wanted to make sure that was picked up as well. We last year had our first International Women's Day for the Women's Ethnic Network. We were hoping for 100 people to turn up. We got 240, which was actually capacity of the venue we had. On the 8th of March, we have our second Women's Ethnic Network International Women's Day, and it will be in a much larger room but at the same location, so at Victoria Park, to enable us to be able to accept more. That is open now for registrations, and I love all the beautiful women that are here to come to that. We launched, we announced the board, and Gail was part of our board at the time, where we our board agreed that we'd have a scholarship in recognition of Cleo Katzinius's contributions of supporting our multicultural communities of Alaska, as well as ECCQ, of course, supporting Nick and others. And so we release that. We're actually tomorrow assessing them, and then I'd like to shortlist, and we're going to be working with Pat Zinius, Kerry Zinius and Rick to identify the winners of the 2 scholarships that we've got there, and announcing that at the International Women's Day. And those women also catch up face-to-face twice a year, at least twice a year, in addition to the International Women's Day. I'm sure there's more I can say. The other bit we are launching this year, I was hoping to do it last year, but the world got moved too fast for me, is the Youth Ethnic Network. I call it the When and Again. When I was at my first AGM, which was a week after I started at ECCQ, I heard very clearly at that meeting my priority should be making sure I go regional and rural, and I've been doing an awful lot. We've done a lot more now in regional rural Queensland, which I'm really happy about, and capacity building in that side. But the other one was to reinvigorate the Women's Ethnic Network and to work with the young people. We don't want to duplicate what's already there, because there's a lot of youth leadership programs, and coming from Access, we always were the leader in the national MIQ, or Multicultural Youth Council group. There's FLAG, which is part of Multicultural Australia, Queensland African Community's got a youth group in that. But a lot of that is learning leadership and leadership skills. We actually are looking at the people that have graduated from those or others as well, and who are probably in that next age group, to try and work with them and to see how they would like to be actively involved. So a lot of them we're sort of aiming in that 24 to 32-year-old sort of month, but we're going to have our first meeting bring some young people together to form that. I think it's going to be in March, but that will be done steadily to make sure it's right. A lot of what I'm hearing is a lot of them would like to sit on boards to get experience, like me as returning officer, and maybe I can come and see Mock in the near future to see even if this is the way they wish to go, that you could have a young person that you could mentor as part of your executive committee.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You really done the job.
Just few things that you mentioned there, like the discrimination and racism and calling it out to what it is. Also, we're looking at the race discrimination commissioner.
Yes.
And I don't know whether you all heard that the new chief would be Kiri Sivaram.
Oh, yeah, good. Yeah. He'll be good.
Did you see that today?
Yeah, he'll be good.
Yes, that's
Someone messaged.
Yeah.
And I think he and we all worked on the Religious Unification Act as well, and that was a great feat where all the communities came together, and in the end we got it right, or we think we got it right because there were amendments, there were things that were made, there were changes, and the journalists and other people were still picking up wrong language, and we had to be very strong. One point from the Hindu community was the word swastika. Like there is no word, no such word as German swastika. German one is Heisikuk. That's a different thing. Swastika is different. So because that was going to be banned, so we had to make a clear distinction. And even from the Premier's office, the first press release that went out, and they needed to get back because there was opposition and people wanted, not that they didn't know, but there was awareness that needed to be raised. The same thing I think what you mentioned about racism and the school staff not being able to cope with that. The more awareness and all the work that you're doing out there, that you do. And I also talk about is there any, when you have any programs and things where members of QMC who come in or collaborate, if there's some collaboration between the two, that would be welcomed. Because no use reinventing the wheel. If you're running a program that could benefit, our members, you should let us know, share that, and I'm pretty sure our members would love to be part of that as well.
Can I just raise one more thing, and it's acknowledging the geopolitical environment that we're in at the moment. Our community is hurting, and many communities are hurting at the moment. There's so much going on overseas. We know the situation in Gaza with the Palestinian community and the Israeli community, or the Jewish and Muslim communities, is hurting a lot of people here at the moment. And we've got to remember that we've got, Ukraine, Russia still happening, we've got the Congo at the moment. There is so much going on. We've got elections in India coming up, that's been commissioned there, and what can resurface from these. We've been working, because mental health is a big issue at the moment, and there's quite bad narratives and very graphic photos that are being shared online for people, and that's causing an awful lot of trauma and vicarious trauma. Like, it's bringing people back to what they've all been through and what they've escaped at the moment. So we've been really working with the Mental Health Commissioner and some of the other mental health services like QPAST and World Wellness Group and now Fortify Health and others to say how are the community going at the moment, and the answer is not good. Last year we met a few times and the answer was they're in fight and flight mode, what we can't really provide support, but now that it's been protracted for a long time, my anticipation is this year's going to be a really hard year year for community. I know at the moment Benny Bowl has been with the daughter, the daughter from the murder that occurred next week.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's a community meeting at the QACC Youth Centre at the White Plains tonight. And Naomi from my team is there to represent me. But I guess being able to hear and listen, one thing I've been advocating for as well, and love any of your support with this, is that our meeting with Cherise Mullen in 2 weeks, I think it is, and my message with her is she needs to be regularly meeting with multicultural communities, not in necessarily just events and festivals. When during COVID, during that we'd have meetings where we'd have the service sector and we'd have leaders of the community, and they'd come together online, and it's recognising how important our communities are, and that they don't have to come and always say something, they don't always have to have an announcement, but recognition of the importance of our community is really important. If she just met with them twice a year, and in that you could be heard, or we don't just want our liaison officers going out like from the police or Queensland government or federal government just finding out. You need recognition at the highest levels. So if we can get more recognition and more opportunities to be able to have serious conversations, because there's a lot of serious matters at the moment. So anything you can do to help have a voice and be able to be included.
We have a round of applause for
Yeah, thank you.
So there were, ladies and gentlemen, that was a just wonderful speech there by Lisa, and I think she just did a very, very wonderful job. And when we look at all the things that she has been doing out there in the community, it's very, very commendable. As I mentioned there, that now ACCQ is very, very visible out in the communities. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's about all we have time for today. And right now, let's take a look at some of the functions and events taking place right here in Brisbane. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been wonderful having your company. That's about all we have time for you today. And have a wonderful weekend. I know it's going to be a very eventful weekend. Though there's a little bit of rain around, please do check the weather conditions before you go out to outdoor functions and events. So until Monday, it's goodbye from us. Been wonderful having your company.